The FBI says that new smart TV you got on Black Friday or Cyber Monday could actually be spying on you. The Bureau
You heard that right. Even when you turn it off before bed, your smart TV may not really be off. In many homes, it's still connected, still reporting, and still helping companies build a profile of the people sitting in front of it. And the strangest part? Most people agreed to it without realizing what they were giving away. For anyone who still thinks they control the remote, the reality behind the screen might make them want to pull the plug immediately. It's time to see who really owns the home. Imagine walking into a Best Buy and spotting a massive 55-inch smart TV for a price so low it feels like a total steal. Most people would jump on that deal in a heartbeat. But in the tech world, there's an unspoken rule. If you can't figure out how they're making money, the product is probably you. From the moment an LG, Samsung, or Sony TV, or even a plug-in like a Fire Stick is powered on, it can start sending usage data back to the companies behind it. These devices aren't just using the internet to stream Netflix, they're using the home router to ship personal data out the door. So why are these screens so cheap? It's simple. The hardware itself is only one part of the business. The real money often comes after the TV is already in your home. They want to understand what someone watches, when they watch it, and what that says about their habits. Because the more they know, the easier it is to predict what that person might buy next. And don't think skipping the login screen offers any protection. Researchers at Northeastern University have shown that data flows to tech giants regardless of whether a user has an account. It's reached a point where the FBI issued an official warning about these risks. Even Samsung once warned users that if they used voice recognition, sensitive information spoken near the TV could be captured and sent to a third party. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's just the reality behind that sleek, thin screen. So, how much does this spy actually know about the average person? The short answer is enough to make anyone do a double take. It's essentially a quiet observer living in the living room, one that doesn't just remember every movie watched, but also takes notes on exactly when the screen was paused or which scenes were skipped. It starts with something called ACR, or Automatic Content Recognition. Think of ACR like Shazam for your TV screen. It doesn't care about the source. Whether it's a Netflix stream, an old DVD from the 90s, or an offline game on an Xbox, ACR may be able to recognize what's playing on the screen. In some cases, even if a movie is played from a private hard drive without an internet connection, the system can listen to the audio to identify exactly what's playing. And this is where it gets creepier. The TV doesn't need to know your name to follow you. Once the TV reads someone's tastes, it starts talking to every other device in the house through cross-device tracking. This is why someone can watch a cooking show on their TV and immediately see an ad for high-end kitchen knives on their Instagram feed. The TV, phone, and laptop are all silently shaking hands over the home Wi-Fi, building a profile so detailed it covers everything from browsing habits to daily routines. The most unsettling part is the false sense of security people feel when they turn off the TV for the night. Many smart TVs don't fully power down when you press the remote. They enter standby mode so they can update, reconnect, and wake faster the next time you turn them on. So, on models with voice controls, it's worth checking whether the microphone is always listening for a wake command and whether that setting can be turned off. But not every TV brand collects data in the same way. Some focus on what you watch, some connect it to your other devices, and some use the TV as one more piece of a much bigger advertising machine. Here are the 5 brands you need to know. Coming in at number 5 is Vizio, one of the most famous examples of smart TV tracking. If you've ever seen a huge Vizio TV at a price that seemed almost too good to be true, this is where the business model starts to make sense. Vizio's business model isn't really about selling hardware. It's about selling data through a technology called ACR. Back in 2017, the FTC slapped them with a massive fine for tracking 11 million people without permission. At number 4 is LG, where the concern centers on its Live Plus feature. What stands out with LG is that it doesn't just watch content on its own apps, it scans content from different inputs, including some HDMI sources. Some users also complain that privacy choices can feel confusing during setup, especially when smart features are tied to long terms and conditions. Number 3 is Samsung, the king of the unbreakable ecosystem. Samsung doesn't just watch the TV, it connects those habits to the user's phone, tablet, and even their smartwatch. Also, in leaked CIA documents, a tool called Weeping Angel allegedly targeted certain older Samsung TVs with a fake-off mode, making the screen look off while the device could still record audio. The number 2 spot goes to Roku, the brain behind budget brands like TCL and Hisense. Every click and every app installation feeds their massive ad machine. It's not just adults either. In 2025, Roku faced a major lawsuit for allegedly tracking and selling data on children. And the heavyweight champion is Amazon. It can connect Fire TV activity with a much larger ecosystem: shopping, Alexa, Prime Video, app usage, and account data. They know what people watch, where they live, and most importantly, what they buy. The real kicker is Alexa. Every voice command, shopping history, Prime Video activity, and Fire TV behavior can all become signals inside the same prediction machine. Even clicking opt-out of personalized ads doesn't stop the collection, it may just limit how the data is used for targeting. Privacy groups often criticize this kind of setup because the choice can feel more like a formality than real control. You click agree to make the TV work, but most people don't have time to read pages of privacy terms during setup. Or when you say no during setup, it can make your smart TV feel a lot less smart. However, ads are only the polite version of the problem. The darker version starts when someone else gets control of the screen. At elite hacking conferences like Black Hat, researchers have demonstrated that breaking into a TV is often actually easier than cracking a personal computer. If a TV has a built-in camera, that camera becomes one more thing that needs protection. It can be turned into a silent eye, allowing a stranger to watch a family's private life without a single LED light ever blinking to give it away. Another problem is security debt. Most people will update their iPhone the second a notification pops up, but a TV's security patch might be ignored for months. This creates a massive window of opportunity. A hacker doesn't even need to be nearby. They can slip in through a pirated app or an old router password. Once they're in, they can turn the TV into a zombie device, part of a massive botnet used to launch cyber attacks, all while the owner is just sitting back watching a movie. The technology used to invade privacy is getting scarily advanced. A study called Covert Band showed that TV speakers and microphones can be manipulated to emit ultrasound waves, essentially acting like sonar to track a person's movement in the room down to the centimeter. Even crazier, hackers don't even have to break into the hardware. By using AI to analyze the digital fingerprint of compressed data flowing through the Wi-Fi, researchers can guess what someone is watching on Netflix or YouTube with high accuracy. Why do they go to all this trouble? Because better data makes ads more valuable. And the earlier a platform understands someone's habits, the easier it becomes to predict what might influence them later. The good news? You don't need to throw the TV away. You just need to make it less smart, and it usually only takes about 10 minutes. The first move is simple. Dive into the settings menu, look for the privacy or advertising tab, and kill ACR. Manufacturers love to hide this under fancy, harmless sounding names. On a Samsung, it's often called Viewing Information Services. LG brands it as Live Plus, and Vizio calls it Smart Interactivity. While you're in there, go ahead and opt out of personalized ads to limit how your viewing data is used for targeted ads and shared with partners. Once the software is handled, it's time for a classic move straight out of the FBI's playbook. Take a small piece of black tape and cover the built-in camera. Since these lenses rarely have a physical light to show when they're active, that piece of tape is the only way to be 100% sure no one is peeking in. If the remote or the TV has a physical mute button for the mic, use it. And remember, standby mode is essentially a polite lie. The TV is often still online and chatting. To really cut the cord, use a power strip with an off switch to kill the power completely when the screen isn't being used. However, don't just set it and forget it. After major software updates, it's worth checking your privacy settings again. Some settings can move, reset, or be renamed, and most people never go back to look. At the same time, change the default password on the router and cable box. Those factory passwords are often the same for thousands of customers, making them a welcome mat for hackers. For the more tech-savvy, the best move is to build a digital island. Most routers allow for a separate guest Wi-Fi network. Putting the TV and other smart gadgets on their own network keeps them away from the laptop or phone where the sensitive bank info lives. If the TV gets compromised, the hacker is stuck on the island and can't reach the mainland where the important data is stored. Finally, if a TV feels too far gone, there's always the nuclear option, a factory reset. It's a clean slate that wipes every trace of data. Just remember that during the new setup, the key is to be extremely selective. Say no to every optional data collection prompt from the very beginning. It's the best way to make the TV feel less like an advertising terminal and more like the screen people thought they bought. At the end of the day, keeping a home private doesn't have to be living off the grid or tossing the TV in the trash. It's simply about knowing how the machine works, so the person holding the remote stays in the driver's seat. By adopting above practical habits, anyone can enjoy a premium theater experience at home without giving away more of your private life than you meant to. Hit subscribe to keep pulling back the curtain on these tech secrets. By the way, I have a question for you. Is it worth paying an extra $500 for a dumb TV that's 100% private, or is the convenience of a cheap smart TV just too good to pass up? Let's hear those thoughts in the comments.